الحمد لله رب العالمين. الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن سيدنا ونبينا مولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله أرسله الله تعالى بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله وكفى بالله شهيدا. أما بعد، فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله، وإن خير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم، وإن شر الأمور محدثاتها، وكل محدثة بدعة، وكل بدعة ضلالة، وكل ضلالة في النار. All praise to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and peace and blessings be upon His prophets and messengers, all the prophets and messengers of Allah, from Adam alayhi salam to Nuh alayhi salam, Ibrahim alayhi salam, Musa alayhi salam, Isa alayhi salam, and the last and the final Prophet Muhammad salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi wa alayhim ajma'een. May the peace and blessing of Allah be upon him and upon all the prophets and messengers, upon their families and their followers. Allah says in the Quran, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu taqullah wal tanzur nafsum ma qaddamat lighad wattaqullaha inna Allah khabirum bima ta'malun wa la takunu kalladhina nasullaha fa ansahum anfusahum ulaika humul fasiqun لا يستوي أصحاب النار وأصحاب الجنة أصحاب الجنة هم الفائزون. These ayat from Surah Al-Hashr, you hear them again and again, many times recited, because these ayat also contain beautiful names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Today I'm going to talk about one important point that is mentioned here in these ayat, and that is, do not forget Allah. وَلَا تَكُونُوا كَالَّذِينَ نَسُوا اللَّهَ فَأَنْسَاهُمْ أَنفُسَهُمْ. O you who believe, be mindful of Allah, and let every soul consider carefully what it sends ahead for tomorrow. Be mindful of Allah, for Allah is well aware of everything you do. Do not be like those who forget Allah, so Allah causes them to forget their own souls. They are the rebellious ones. There is no comparison between the inhabitants of the fire and the inhabitants of the paradise. And the inhabitants of paradise are the successful ones. لا تكونوا كالذين نسوا الله فأنساهم أنفسهم. Be not like those who forget Allah, and Allah causes them to forget themselves. You know, the word nisyan in the Arabic language has two meanings. One is to forget, and the other is to ignore. Sometimes people don't forget, but they do ignore. And it is interesting that in this ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is addressing, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, O you who believe. So it is the believers are addressed. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, amanu taqullah, be mindful of Allah, and be not like those who forget Allah. Statistics say that most people in the world believe in Allah, believe in God. In America, 90% of the people, according to statistics, they believe in God. So there are not too many atheists. But how many people remember God? How many people really keep God in mind and do not ignore God? That is the issue. So you have 1.5 billion Muslims or more, according to some, maybe 2 billion. So such a large number of Muslims, they believe in Allah. But how many do not ignore Allah? Nasullah. That means those who forget Allah, or those who ignore Allah. So how many are those who do not ignore Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and keep Allah in mind? And what does it mean to ignore Allah? Nasullah, what does it mean? There are several points one can make, but here I would like to focus on 3 points. One of them is ignoring Allah means not understanding fully the majesty, the glory, the overwhelming power, the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that is there. Ignoring that completely. That's why in this section, after mentioning this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions the 3 ayat of the last 3 ayat that talk about the beautiful names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And 17 names are mentioned. 17 names are invoked. And these names are very, very important to reflect. Because if you reflect on these names, you become aware. هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو عالم الغيب والشهادة هو الرحمن الرحيم. He is Allah. There is no God except He. He knows everything, hidden and manifest. And He is most merciful, most compassionate. هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الملك القدوس السلام المؤمن المهيمن العزيز الجبار المتكبر سبحان الله عما يشركون. الملك, the king, the sovereign, القدوس, the holy one, الجبار المتكبر, the powerful, the mighty, the majestic, all of this. هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الخالق البارئ المصور له الأسماء الحسنى. He is the creator, He is the shaper, He is the fashioner, designer, all of this. And He is the mighty, and He is the wise one. So reflection on these names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the more you reflect on these names, the more you understand the reality of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, haqiqah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know, God is not a concept. Some people think it's a concept. It is just a belief. And today, you know, the word belief is taken in a very lightly. If people are not sure about something, they say they believe in that. Oh, I'm not sure, but I believe so. Isn't that? Is that the point that people take it? But that's not Iman. Iman is certainty. Iman is faith. So have real faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Realize that Allah is. And this is the reality of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Many people forget that. They live in some kind of being oblivious, being not understanding what is going on. This universe is governed by a creator, by majestic power, who knows everything, who is aware of everything. And we are under his presence. And He is present everywhere. وما تكون في شأن وما تتلو منه من قرآن ولا تعملون من عمل إلا كنا عليكم شهودا تستفيضون فيه. Whatever your condition, whatever you say, wherever you are, we are present. كنا عليكم شهودا تستفيضون فيه ولا يعزب عن ربك من مثقال ذرة. There is nothing hidden from your Lord, even if an atom's weight. Nothing is hidden from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So awareness of all that. This means that do not ignore Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In the Quran, we Muslims say so many times, Allahu Akbar. How many times you say that? At least 200 times a day. We say Allahu Akbar. In Adhan, in our Salat, in every rak'ah 5 times. First rak'ah 6 times. So you have fard prayers, and then you have nafl prayer, you have sunnah prayer, and you say takbirat, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. How many times you say Allahu Akbar? What does Allahu Akbar means? It means considering Allah as the great, magnifying Allah, considering Allah's greatness, Allah's glory, Allah's power. Allah is greater than anything. To understand that, don't forget that. Don't ignore that. The second thing is said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has His message. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has His command, His rules. And do not ignore the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Do not ignore the rules of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah is referring to a special one. لو أنزلنا هذا القرآن على جبل لرأيته خاشعا متصدعا من خشية الله وتلك الأمثال نضربها للناس لعلهم يتفكرون. If this Quran would have come on a mountain, mountain would have become sundered, turned to pieces. You could not take the power, the majesty of the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah says, we give you these similitudes, these examples, these illustrations, so that you think about them. So the mighty word of Allah, the Quran, this contains the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is, reflect on that. Reflect on Allah, reflect on the Quran, the message of Allah. And pay attention to the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the third thing that you should keep in mind is, a day is going to come when we are going to stand before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Do not forget that. Do not forget that. That is, وَلْتَنْظُرْ نَفْسٌ مَا قَدَّمَتْ لِغَدٍ. Let every soul see what it has sent ahead for tomorrow. So tomorrow, Ghad, as we are sure of Ghad, this is the way the day of judgment will be. It is a Ghad, it is a day that is going to come. This tomorrow is going to come. I do not know about the tomorrow of this world, whether it is going to come or not. I do not know exactly whether it is going to happen that tomorrow, Saturday, will happen or not happen. It is quite possible that this Friday will be the last Friday for the whole world. Possible. Because it can happen. This is the last day is going to come like that. So it is quite possible. Nobody can say 100% sure that Saturday is going to happen tomorrow. Anybody is sure about that? Nobody is sure about that. Nobody can say that. None of us are sure that tomorrow is going to happen. But there is a tomorrow that is going to happen. Must happen, will happen. And that is the day of judgment. There is no denial to that. Those who deny that, they are kafirin. They are jahidin. They are munkirin. They are the disbelievers. They are the rejectors. They are the denouncers. The believer cannot do that. The believer cannot deny that. So do not forget the day. وَلْتَنْظُرْ نَفْسٌ مَا قَدَّمَتْ لِغَدٍ وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ إِنَّ اللَّهَ خَبِيرٌ بِمَا تَعْمَلُونَ. And consider that. Very, very carefully. Every day to consider that. Every day you think about that. What am I doing for tomorrow? When I stand before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what is my answer? What am I going? وَاللَّهِ لَتَمُوتُنَّ كَمَا تَنَامُونَ. It's one of the hadiths of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He gave very short khutbah. And in that khutbah he said, وَاللَّهِ لَتَمُوتُنَّ كَمَا تَنَامُونَ. By God, you are going to die as you sleep. وَلَتُبْعَثُنَّ كَمَا تَسْتَيْقِظُونَ. And you are going to be resurrected the way that you get up in the morning, that you wake up. وَلَا تُسْأَلُنَّ عَمَّا تَعْمَلُونَ. And you are going to be questioned what you do. فَمَنْ يَجِدْ خَيْرًا فَلْيَحْمَدِ اللَّهِ وَمَنْ يَجِدْ غَيْرَ ذَلِكَ فَلَا يَلُومَنَّ إِلَّا نَفْسَهُ. If you find something nice on that day, thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if it is other than that, blame yourself. Blame yourself because you forgot Allah. So we have to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the reminder. That's why the Quran is ذَكِّرْ فَإِنَّمَا أَنْتَ مُذَكِّرْ لَسْتَ عَلَيْهِمْ بِمُسَيْطِرٍ. Remind. Because إِنَّمَا الذِّكْرَ تَنْفَعُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Reminding helps the believers. Believers don't get tired of that. Believers, when they are reminded of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they don't get angry. But when there are some people who are then told them, اتَّقِ اللَّهَ أَخَذَتْهُ الْعِزَّةُ بِالْإِثْمِ. They get angry. They get upset. But believers have to be reminded again and again. And we must remain always conscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The more we are mindful of Allah, the more we are conscious of Allah, the better for us. This will make our life better, good. Our individual life, our family life, our business life, our community life, wherever we are. Always be mindful of Allah. Don't forget Allah. So each one of us have to ask ourselves, because we remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we remember a lot when we are in trouble. When you are sick, when you don't have a job, when there is some trouble, you remember Allah. Oh, Allah, 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 Allah. Pray, pray. Cry. When we're happy, prosperous, healthy, forget Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I have no time. I'm busy. No, this is wrong. Remember Allah fi sarra'i wa dharra. Remember Allah in every situation, happy or comfortable or uncomfortable, everything. Because if you are happy, thank Allah. If you are in trouble, turn to Allah. He is the one who is going to remove that. Who is going to remove your pain except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? So pray to Him. And then also, there are people remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when they come to masjid. Yes, Allah, Allah. They say a lot of tasbihat, Allahu Akbar. In the masjid. As soon as in the business, this is not Allah's business here. This is my business. Na'udhu billahi min dhalik. No, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be remembered in every moment, in every situation, wherever you are. Remember Allah. So don't remember Allah only in the masjid, only at the time of prayer, but remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala all the time, in every situation. And also, there are people who remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Allah is a creator, yes, and a sustainer. They remember that. Yes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Rabb, Allah is the Lord, Allah is Ma'bud, but they don't remember that Allah is also Hakim. Allah is the Shari'. Allah is the one who has given the rules, who has given the command, and His commands have to be followed. And He is the judge who is going to judge us. They forget that. They don't remember that. And then there are people who remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ra'uf and Rahim and Rahman and Al-Wadud, Al-Ghafur. Allah is kind, merciful, compassionate, loving, all of these things, wonderful, beautiful qualities of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they remember that. Which is true. I mean, these are the qualities of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is very, very kind, very merciful, very compassionate, but they forget that He is Jabbar, Qahhar, Zuntiqam, Shadidul Iqab. He is severe in punishment. He is mighty. He is majestic. He is Adil. He is the just. These are also the aspects of Allah. So don't ignore Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in that aspect. Just remember His majesty, His love, His kindness, His compassion, but also remember the other aspects also, because these are the things that will bring balance in the life. Otherwise, those who believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, His love and kindness only, they become complacent. They become easygoing. Do whatever you like, Allah is forgiving. Inshallah, Allah will forgive. And if you believe that He is only Qahhar and Jabbar, na'udhu billah, then you will lose hope. So Islam said that no, you have to bear both, to keep both in mind. So remember Allah and be not like those who forget Allah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us among those who remember Him always and remain on the right path. Wa akhir da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen, as-salatu was-salamu ala sayyidil mursaleen, nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi at-tayyibin at-tahirin. There are many challenges that we are facing. One is the challenge, of course, that we remain firm on our faith and stay on the right path. The other is to bring better understanding about ourselves, about our faith among our fellow Americans. And that's why we have the Open Mosque Day next Sunday, inshallah, the 16th of October. So where you can invite your friends, your co-workers, your neighbors, whomsoever you like to invite, so that they know what Islam is, who are the Muslims. Today there is a lot of discussion going on, including the political candidates for presidency. They started talking about it. And this has become now a talk that those who follow the Sharia, are they going to be loyal Americans or not? So some people are saying that those who obey the Sharia and follow the Sharia, they are seditious people. Sharia is treachery. Na'udhu billah. Sharia is sedition. And those who believe in Sharia, they cannot be loyal American citizens. And this is a great misunderstanding. This is totally wrong. And it is very important that Muslims should clarify this point. Otherwise, our life will become difficult. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of course, is the protector. But we always have to do our best to create better understanding among the people. So last week, we had a meeting of the scholars of Sharia, the Fiqh Council of North America, and we issued a very important statement. This statement is published, and inshallah it's going to be published more, but I would like to read this statement so that it becomes clear to everybody, inshallah. And the title of this is On Being Faithful Muslims and Loyal Americans. Like other faith communities in the US and elsewhere, we see no inherent conflict between the normative values of Islam and the US Constitution and Bill of Rights. Contrary to erroneous perceptions and Islamophobic propaganda of political extremists from various backgrounds, the true and authentic teachings of Islam promote the sanctity of human life, dignity of all humans, and the respect of human civil and political rights. Islamic teachings uphold religious freedom and adherence to the same universal moral values which are accepted by the majority of the people of all backgrounds and upon which the US Constitution was established and according to which the Bill of Rights was enunciated. The Quran speaks explicitly about the imperative of just and peaceful coexistence and the rights of legitimate self-defense against aggression and oppression that pose threats to freedom and security, provided that a strict code of behavior is adhered to, including the protection of innocent non-combatants. The foregoing values and teachings can be amply documented from the two primary sources of Islamic jurisprudence, the Quran and authentic Hadith. These values are rooted not in political correctness or pretense, but on the universally accepted supreme objectives of Islamic Sharia, which is to protect religious liberty, life, reason, family, and property of all. The Sharia, contrary to the misrepresentation, is a comprehensive and broad guidance for all aspects of a Muslim's life: spiritual, moral, social, and legal. Secular legal systems in Western democracies generally share the same supreme objectives and are generally compatible with Islamic Sharia. Likewise, the core modern democratic systems are compatible with the Islamic principles of shura, mutual consultation, and co-determination of all social affairs at all levels and in all spheres: family, community, society, state, and globally. As a body of Islamic scholars, we, the members of the Fiqh Council of North America, believe that it is false and misleading to suggest that there is a contradiction between being faithful Muslim committed to God, Allah, and being loyal American citizens. Islamic teachings require respect of the laws of the land where Muslims live as minorities, including the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, so long as there is no conflict with Muslims' obligation for obedience to God. We do not see any such conflict with the US Constitution and the Bill of Rights. The primacy of obedience to God is a commonly held position of many practicing Jews and Christians as well. We believe further that as citizens of a free and democratic society, we have the same obligations and rights of all US citizens. We believe that rights of dissent can only be exercised in a peaceful and lawful manner to advance the short and the long-term interests of our country. The Fiqh Council of North America calls on all American Muslims, all Muslim Americans and American citizens at large to engage in objective, peaceful, and respectful dialogue at all levels and spheres of common social concerns. We call upon all Muslim Americans to be involved in solving pressing social problems such as the challenge of poverty, discrimination, violence, healthcare, and environmental protection. It is fully compatible with Islam for Muslims to integrate positively in the society of which they are equal citizens without losing their identity as Muslims. just as Jews and Christians do not lose their religious identity in doing the same. We believe that emphasis on dialogue and positive collaborative action is a far better approach than following the path of those who thrive on hate-mongering and fear propaganda. Anti-Islam, anti-Semitism, and other similar forms of religious and or political-based discrimination are all forms of racism unfit for civilized people and are betrayal of the true American as well as Islamic values. May the pursuit of peace, justice, love, compassion, human equality, and fellowship prevail in the pluralistic mosaic that is the hallmark of our nation. So this is the statement. I think it will be good that we take this statement and distribute it and give it to the people so people have better understanding of where Muslims stand and what is our position. I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep us on the right path and protect us and help us. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل وسلم على عبدك ورسولك محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وعلى من تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين خصوصا على الخلفاء الأربعة أبي بكر وعمر وعثمان وعلي وعلى السيدين الشهيدين أبي محمد الحسن وأبي عبد الله الحسين وعلى أمهما فاطمة الزهراء وعلى عميه المعزمان المكرمان عند الله والناس الحمزة والعباس وعلى سائر الصحابة والتابعين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين وعنا معهم بفضلك وكرمك يا أكرم الأكرمين ويا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين اللهم إنا نسألك العفو والعافية والمعافاة الدائمة والفوز بالجنة والنجاة من النار. عباد الله رحمكم الله إن الصلاة تنهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر ولذكر الله أكبر فأقيموا الصلاة.